Contradiction number 17. Profit equals poverty. The fact that capitalism yields inequality is no secret. What is poorly understood is how inequality comes about. This can be understood by grasping one of the definitions of capital: an excess of possessions, money or property, over liabilities. What we simply call profit, also referred to in national terms as growth, these are definitions of synonyms of capital. Now, capitalism is simply the economic system where everyone aims for profit and together the economy achieves growth. Without growth, capitalism fails. There can be no such thing as capitalism where people don't make profit, save for when there is a crisis, a recession or whatever. Contrast this to communism, where the aim of the game is an equal distribution of resources, not profit. So how are profits made? There are many ways of doing this, which involve expanding into new markets and investing in new technology in order to make production more efficient. However, the traditional way of making profit is to cut costs and simply increasing working time for the same overheads and wages. Once profits are achieved, they are reinvested back into the capitalist entity, the business or whatever, so as to produce more output, usually through purchasing new technologies. It is therefore in capital's interest to keep wages as low as possible. The lower the wages, the more capital will be obtained. Unfortunately, lower wages are also a way in which poverty is driven. What is the contradiction? Well, capitalism produces wealth, whereas at the same time it makes people poor. You can imagine a traditional cobbler who takes a week to make a pair of shoes and then sells the pair of shoes for £100, say, and makes a sale once a week. In comes a shoemaking factory, which drives all cottage industries out of business, including our cobbler, due to economies of scale. The cobbler applies for a job at the new factory on the basis of his skill, and he is hired. But rather than actually using his skill, he spends a whole day pulling levers and pressing buttons on machines, producing hundreds of shoes daily, each of which costs about £10 or something, maybe even less. Of this, the owner of the factory makes a profit, and since he spent heavily on the machinery and has to employ about 100 workers, the old cobbler makes about £5 a day, a lot less than he did when working on his own. Since the new factory is a business in competition with other shoemaking businesses, the owner must squeeze as much profit out of his factory, thus making the rise of wages undesirable. The owner has no choice. It's profits or bankruptcy. One wonders why Charles Darwin's maxim, survival of the fittest, is so often applied to fierce competition between organisms in nature, when perhaps a more human application would be to businesses in a capitalist economy. At the end of the day, the owners keep a large share of the profits while they have no economic incentive to raise the wages of workers. Owners get relatively richer and workers get relatively poorer.